Diamond sports are in full swing. Welcome into the lovely Moss Arts Center here in Blacksburg, Virginia for this week's edition of the 3304 Sports First Pitch Show. I'm Robert Bateman, joined alongside by Kyle Bean and Hayden Tolbert. Fellas, how are we enjoying the season so far?
It's been a great season. I mean, there's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and just a couple games have been super fun. I've really enjoyed that URI series early in the season. I think it was just a fun way to get going early on for the baseball team.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the home runs from the Hokies. I mean, Carson DiMartini is ranked 15th in the nation with 17 home runs, and then Virginia Tech is ranked 11th in the country with 78 home runs. So the Hammerin' Hokies are really showing out this season.
Yeah, for sure. But let's start with softball season, where Virginia Tech and Pete Demore has his ladies rolling so far. For more on the heavy-hitting Hokies, it's our softball savant, Kyle Marshak. Kyle, take it away.
Virginia Tech softball is just a pair of games left in their 2024 regular season campaign, which means the ACC tournament is just 2 weeks away down in Durham. Now, that will stand as one final degree of aptitude for the Hokies as they look to add to one very important job application, the chance to host a regional. Now, the NCAA's top 16 overall seeds all host their individual pool of 4 at the top of the NCAA tournament come mid-May. And you bet, Virginia Tech is ranked number 16 overall as we speak. So what's helping their resume right now, and how can they add to it? Well, at 17-4 in ACC play, that helps. Snagging a 3 seed for the ACC tournament will set them up for success for sure, as they've already clinched a bye in the bracket and a very solid chance to win first round against a Georgia Tech or UNC type team. By the way, they swept both of those squads that I just mentioned in the regular season already. Also, my mom said I should mention that they're 17-0 at home if your mom's cool with it. Yeah, that's right. At the helm this year, this ball club has outscored their opponents 182-43. In the wise words of the famous street poet Jermaine Cole, ain't no perfect home, but the only thing like home I've ever known. Except in this case, home's been perfect for them. So we could go on and on the merit of their hitting at home or on the road, the entire season for that fact, but logistically, there's only one thing left to do to secure home field advantage for the big dance. Don't flub the first round down in Durham on May 9th. Beyond that, beating a number 1 or 2 seeded Florida State or Duke squad is just cookie points. And, you know, I like cookies personally. All right, that's enough out of me. Back to you guys at the desk.
Fantastic work, Kyle. Well, he painted the picture pretty well for softball, who have been on fire at home. But in juxtaposition, Virginia Tech baseball has lost more games at home than they've lost on the road. So clearly defending the home turf has been a struggle. For more on the recent form of the Hokies, here's Thomas Howlett.
Virginia Tech looks to have a bounce-back series in the ACC this weekend as they travel to Chapel Hill to face the 15th-ranked Tar Heels. The Hokies are 2-7 in their last 9 conference games and have lost 3 series in a row. During this stretch, Tech has been outscored by 18 runs, giving up 78 and scoring 50. While the pitching hasn't been impressive, the thing that has plagued this club has been the failure to get hits in the clutch. Over these past 9 conference games, Virginia Tech has left a staggering 83 runners on base. This is not a recipe for winning baseball games. Luckily for the Hokies, they may have found some rhythm Tuesday night when they took George Mason out behind the woodshed and handed them a 24-5 loss. They won this game with an excellent hitting night from the entire lineup, finishing with 26 hits while mashing 5 homers, 2 of which came from Carson DiMartini. The pitching was solid during the contest as well. After the starter Madden Clement was pulled early in the 3rd inning, the bullpen came together and had a brilliant performance, only allowing 1 run to come the rest of the game. Hopefully, Virginia Tech has found the momentum they need to have success in their quest to topple the Tar Heels.
Well done, Thomas. Well, guys, let's talk about the Hammerin' Hokies. Kyle, what do you think they've struggled with in ACC play so far?
I mean, when you look at the ACC schedule, obviously Tech has had a really tough time with the last couple of games and playing some really difficult opponents. I mean, Wake Forest and Duke are 2 teams that you don't really want to mess with. So there's obviously that factoring in, but the pitching, it just hasn't been quite up to speed when moving into ACC play. We thought it was a little bit more where we'd like it to be early on in the season in that out-of-conference play, but moving up against some tougher bats, it showed that it's a little bit further behind than you'd like. And then on the other side, for the offense, they've just been leaving so many runners on base. The last 4 games, there's been 10 runners minimum left on base. In one of those Duke games, there was 18. So they're getting a lot of guys on the base pass, but they can't bring them in to score those runs and just put them over the top in these really tough, hard-fought battles.
Yeah, for sure. Clearly some issues. And Hayden, this is the first time that we've seen John Szefc's team fall out of the top 25 since mid-March. So what do the Hokies have to do if they want to get back into the rankings late in the season?
I mean, yeah, obviously having a rough month, like losing all of their ACC series and only having wins against George Mason and Liberty, of course. What they need to do is just find consistent pitchers that can pitch for them and not have to constantly rotate out. I mean, a bright spot for pitchers recently against George Mason is Brady Kirtner, Christiansburg alum. He had a 6-0 in a win against George Mason. So I think that if they can get a good, consistent pitching rotation and then just convert on their hits and convert on getting on base, then that's how they can get back on track.
Yeah, for sure. And Brady Kirkner actually has the highest spin rate in collegiate baseball. Kind of a crazy stat. Well, Virginia Tech has struggled recently in ACC play, but one VT veteran is keen on righting the ship for the Hokies. With an in-depth dive on Virginia Tech star third baseman, it's Carson DiMartini, our very own Cody Wagner.
Undeniable. Carson DiMartini struggled to draw big-time offers coming out of high school. Then, John Szefc came calling with the golden ticket, an opportunity for the young third baseman to travel across his home state and play for the Virginia Tech Hokies. DiMartini immediately jumped at the chance to play the game he loved so much at the next level. In his first season in Blacksburg, number 4 was called upon to be an everyday starter as a true freshman. 2022 was a season that Tech fans will remember for a long time. In the third installment of the Hammer and Hokies, the name became synonymous with Virginia Tech baseball. And in his inaugural season for the Hokies, DiMartini slammed the hammer down 15 times. Virginia Tech ended their season with a loss to Oklahoma and fell just short of a trip to Omaha. Despite a disappointing end to 2022, Hokies fans were hopeful for the future, with the young DiMartini beginning to blossom late in his freshman year. In his sophomore campaign, the man at the hot corner remained undeniable, batting .323 and leading the team in walks. Despite team struggles a season ago, DiMartini was one of the bright spots as always. We fast forward to 2024, and as the Hokies hit a bump in the road, dropping out of the rankings in this week's poll, what better player is there to get them back on track than the man that has answered the call every time the phone rang? DiMartini's story in Blacksburg isn't over quite yet, and as the season begins to near its end, he has the opportunity to close this chapter on a high and continue his undeniable legacy. Guys.
Phenomenal job, Cody. Guys, let's finish off the show by talking about the ACC tournament, which kicks off in just about a month. What 4 teams do you think is going to make it out of that group pool play and make it to the semifinals for the ACC baseball tournament?
I mean, this is probably a pretty popular opinion, but I think when you just look at the ACC roster, it's got to be Duke, Clemson, UNC, and Wake Forest. I think UNC, they've just got such a good team overall, and then their relievers are ridiculous. I mean, Matthew Mathias and Dalton Pence, 2 guys on the Stopper of the Year watch list. That's a fantastic relieving options for them. And then Duke and Clemson, I mean, come on. We know these programs are great. And then Wake Forest, of course. They're not performing quite how we expected looking at the season, but this program's so historically good, and they're still a really good program. I mean, they've put up some impressive wins. Sweeping Virginia Tech at home, obviously, would be the big one, and starting this kind of downward spiral that they've been on lately. But with guys like Seaver King and Nick Kurtz at the plate and then Chase Burns on the mound, I really think that at some point they're going to figure this out and they're going to be the team to beat.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Wake. I mean, Chase Burns is an all-star. I mean, we called that game, and he had more than 10 kills, and he just tore up Virginia Tech. And, I mean, of course, Clemson, 32-7, and FSU ranked 10th. But a dark horse for me is probably Virginia. I mean, they have 4 players in the ACC that leads in hits. That's Griff O'Farrell, Casey Suck, and Henry Ford, and Ethan Anderson. So I think Virginia, when they get into the ACC tournament, they can upset some teams.
All right. Well, I'm actually going with a 4 that's very similar to the ACC men's basketball Final Four. It's actually the exact same. I'm going UNC, Duke, NC State, and UVA. UNC, I think they're a powerhouse. I don't think anyone's going to knock them off. Duke has shown that when it gets to those extra innings, they can really pull it out. You know, you have guys like Ben Miller and Logan Bravo who can just go yard at any moment. So I think Duke could really sneak out a group play. I think NC State's a team that people are really overlooking. You know, the Wolfpack, they're coming howling this spring. And UVA, kind of for similar reasons you said, I think the Cavaliers can find themselves in that Final Four and maybe even a championship. Well, that's all we got for you guys this week on the 3304 Sports First Pitch Show. I'd like to give a big thanks to our reporters, Thomas Howlett, Cody Wagner, and Kyle Marshak. For my panelists at the desk, Kyle Bean and Hayden Tolbert, I'm Robert Bateman, saying so long for now, and we'll see y'all next week.